I used to think I was eating too clean to ever have heart trouble, but then I woke up in the ICU. My name is Ezra Maddox. I'm 76 years old and live in a quiet little house on the edge of Oregon. Most mornings I take a slow walk past the lavender fields just to let the stillness settle in my bones. Every afternoon I prepare a fresh salad, spinach, cucumbers, a few sunflower seeds on top, no red meat, no sugar, not even a hint of fried food. I thought I was doing everything right. So when my chest began to feel heavy one cold afternoon after lunch, I didn't panic. I figured it was fatigue, but the weight didn't go away. It grew heavier, like someone was pressing on me from the inside. And the next thing I knew, I was waking up under bright hospital lights with wires taped across my chest, and my wife whispering my name like it might be the last time. The doctor told me I was lucky, but what haunted me most wasn't the episode itself. It was what he said when he leaned closer and asked if I knew that the vegetables I was eating could be quietly canceling out my heart medication. I remember just staring at him. Spinach, dangerous. That made no sense. All my life I believed vegetables were the safest choice on the table, but that day something cracked open in me. Not every healthy food is safe after 60, especially if you're taking daily medications. I know I'm not the only one. So many of my friends and neighbors are walking the same path, eating what we believe is good, living carefully, trusting our habits, but still ending up in hospital rooms wondering what went wrong. It's not that we're making bad choices. It's that we were never told which ones could turn on us quietly with age. After that scare, I started paying attention. I began writing down what I ate, asking better questions at the pharmacy, reading every word on every prescription bottle, and what I found shook me. There are 5 vegetables that millions of older adults eat every week, believing they are helping their heart, when in truth they could be making it weaker. Not because the vegetables are bad, but because our bodies and medications change with age. And no one warned us about the risks, so I'm not sharing this to scare you. I'm sharing it to give you a head start, so you don't have to wake up in a hospital bed like I did. If you stay with me until the end of this video, I'll show you the 5 vegetables that might be quietly putting your heart at risk. I'll explain the science in plain words. I'll tell you what happened to me and how I made small changes that made a big difference. And I'll give you simple swaps you can make to protect your heart without giving up the foods you love. So what was the first vegetable that nearly made my medication useless? You know, that green smoothie you drink every morning to stay healthy. It might be quietly fighting against the heart medication you take every night. I didn't believe it at first either. For years I made myself a smoothie every morning with fresh spinach. I thought I was being smart, doing everything right. Spinach is a superfood, they say, rich in iron, full of vitamins. How could it possibly do harm? But after my little heart scare, the doctor ran through my list of medications and then asked about my diet. When I told him about my daily smoothie, his face changed. He explained that spinach is loaded with vitamin K, and for someone like me who's been on warfarin since my mild stroke last year, that's a real problem. Vitamin K helps your blood clot, which is fine, good even. But when you're on a blood thinner like warfarin, too much vitamin K can cancel out the effects of your medication. It thickens your blood again. It makes the drug less effective. And the worst part is you don't feel a thing. You think you're protected, but quietly your body is losing its defense against a clot. That defense I needed more than ever. The folks at Mayo Clinic have written about this. So has Harvard Health. They warn that high doses of vitamin K can interfere with anticoagulants, but the trick is not to avoid it entirely. The trick is to stay consistent. That's where I went wrong. I was blending up big handfuls of spinach one day, then skipping it the next. My levels were all over the place and I had no idea. It's such a common mistake, especially among people our age. We believe more vegetables equals more health, and in most cases that's true. But no one tells us that food and medicine can clash. No one teaches us to look at that salad the way we'd look at a prescription label. I kept thinking I was helping myself. But now I wonder, would you rather eat a big bowl of greens every day and undo your stroke medication, or eat a moderate portion with purpose and stay protected? These days I still eat spinach, but just a little, and always the same amount. I talked to my doctor, we made a plan. I don't want to give up healthy foods, but I've learned that health is not just about what you eat. It's about how and when you eat it too. Especially when you're over 60 and your body doesn't respond the way it used to. And that was just the beginning. There was another vegetable in my fridge that nearly sabotaged all the progress I had made. And it wasn't even green. One little pickle slice might carry as much salt as a whole bag of potato chips. That was the line that stopped me cold in the doctor's office. I laughed at first, thought he was joking. I mean, really, it's just a pickle. A crunchy little bite I've been putting on my sandwich for years. Nothing greasy, nothing fried, just vinegar and cucumber, right? But then he pulled out the numbers. Some pickles have over 1,000 milligrams of sodium in just a few slices. That's nearly 2/3 of the daily limit for someone my age. Suddenly, my harmless habit didn't seem so harmless anymore. I used to love sitting down at lunch with a turkey sandwich and a couple of pickles on the side. It added flavor. A little zip, something to wake up my taste buds, and I never once thought to count it as part of my salt intake. I mean, we all watch the salt shaker. We measure what we add to soup. But we forget about the salt hiding inside the food we don't think twice about. The bread, the canned beans, the salad dressing, and yes, even that innocent little pickle. As we get older, our kidneys don't process sodium as efficiently. According to the American Heart Association, too much sodium increases blood volume and puts pressure on arteries that are already stiff with age. That pressure leads to hypertension. It strains the heart. Over time, it wears it down like water against rock. And the scary part is you don't feel it happening. You don't feel the damage until the day your doctor says the word heart failure, and you start looking back at every tiny bite that got you there. It's such a common mistake, especially for folks over 60. We think we've cleaned up our diet. We cut out fried chicken and bacon. We avoid chips, but we forget about the little things. The healthy soups, the crackers, the pickled stuff we grew up with. Those tiny bites add up. Are you really tracking your salt, or just the obvious sources? Because sometimes the worst damage comes from the food you never suspect. These days I still want crunch, still want flavor, but I've swapped out the pickles for fresh cucumber slices, a squeeze of lemon, a pinch of dill, sometimes a little apple cider vinegar if I miss the tang. My blood pressure's steadier now. My heart feels lighter. Not because I gave up flavor, but because I gave up the habit of eating without thinking. And just when I thought I had my meals under control, I discovered that even the spice I loved most was quietly lighting a fire inside my chest. My heart felt like it was beating inside someone else's chest, all from one spicy bowl of soup. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. My neighbor Rosa had invited me over for lunch and served her famous Mexican chili soup. She makes it with love. Tomatoes slow-cooked with garlic and plenty of red chili peppers. It smelled incredible. And of course I went for a second bowl. I've always loved a little heat. Reminded me of my younger days when I could eat the spiciest dishes without blinking. But this time was different. About 20 minutes after lunch, I started feeling a tightness in my chest. Not pain exactly, just pressure. Then my heart began to flutter. Not a soft flutter like excitement. No, this was erratic, like a drum being played by someone who didn't know the rhythm. I sat down, took deep breaths, tried to act like it was nothing. But inside, I knew something was off. The doctor later explained what had happened. The red chili peppers triggered a release of adrenaline through my system. Capsaicin, the compound that gives chili its heat, stimulates the nervous system. That spike in adrenaline causes your heart rate to rise. Your blood vessels tighten. Your blood pressure shoots up. For someone in their 20s, that might just mean sweating and a fast pulse. But for someone over 60 with arteries that are stiffer and a heart that's not as forgiving, it can be dangerous. Harvard Health has talked about this too. The link between spicy food and sudden changes in heart rhythm. And yet so few people know. We think it's just spice, just a little heat. But for an aging heart, that kick can be more than our body is ready for. It's a mistake I've seen so many older folks make. We hold on to the foods we loved, the ones that bring back memories, that comfort us. And we ignore the signs our body sends. We brush off the racing heartbeat. We blame the shortness of breath on age. But let me ask you, would you rather chase that burning flavor or protect the only heart you've got left? Now I still love bold food. I just flavor it differently. I use fresh garlic, a bit of ginger, some lemon zest, turmeric, even a pinch of black pepper now and then. These give me depth and warmth without pushing my heart too far. It's not about giving up spice. It's about giving your body what it can truly handle. And just when I thought I had left the biggest dangers behind, I came face to face with a natural remedy I trusted my whole life. One that almost made my blood too thin to save me. I used to think eating raw garlic every morning was my secret to long life, until the day I watched blood drip from my nose and it wouldn't stop. I'd been doing it for years. One clove, raw, crushed and swallowed with warm water before breakfast. I read about it in a book, heard it from my uncle, even my neighbor swore by it. Said garlic was nature's antibiotic, so I believed it. And honestly, I felt good. Until one afternoon I took a small stumble on the porch. Just a little slip while reaching for the railing. Nothing serious. I didn't hit my head. I didn't even fall hard. But a few minutes later my nose started bleeding. And it didn't stop. Not after 10 minutes. Not after 20. I sat in the kitchen with a towel pressed under my nose for over half an hour. And even then the blood kept soaking through. That's when my wife drove me to urgent care. They asked what medications I was on. I told them about the aspirin. And then almost like an afterthought, I mentioned the garlic. That's when the nurse nodded. She knew right away. Garlic, especially raw garlic, is a strong, natural blood thinner. When it mixes with medications like aspirin or warfarin, it can amplify their effects. Instead of helping your heart, it can make your blood so thin it won't clot when you need it to. And that's not just nosebleeds. That's internal bleeding, black stools, sudden drops in pressure. It's a risk that sneaks in quietly. One clove at a time. Mayo Clinic has warned about this too, so has the National Institutes of Health. The science is there, but most of us don't hear it. We trust what's natural. We believe if it grows from the earth it must be good. But natural doesn't always mean harmless, especially when mixed with modern medicine. That's the mistake I made. And I know a lot of other folks do too. We treat garlic like a miracle cure. We crush it, swallow it, take it like vitamins, and never stop to ask how it might be reacting with the pills we already take. So I have to ask you, are you sure your natural remedy is helping you, or could it be quietly making things worse? These days I still enjoy garlic, but I roast it, I cook with it. I use it in soups and sauces. I talked to my doctor. We found a balance, one that keeps the flavor without risking my safety. It turns out you don't need to give up what you love. You just need to know when enough is enough. And if raw garlic could turn dangerous without warning, imagine what might be hiding inside those crunchy little sprouts we think are fresh and harmless. It looks clean. It feels fresh. But it might be one of the most dangerous things sitting on your plate. That's what the doctor told me when I came in doubled over with stomach cramps that wouldn't let up. I had eaten a big salad for lunch that day. Lettuce, carrots, a few cherry tomatoes, and a generous handful of raw sprouts. I thought I was giving my body something pure, light, healing, but within hours I was sweating and weak. My stomach churned like it was fighting a war I didn't know had started. I spent that night in the bathroom. The next morning I was in the hospital, hooked up to fluids, heart racing, completely drained. The test results showed a bacterial infection, probably E. coli or listeria. And when they asked me what I had eaten the day before, they nodded at the word sprouts. Sprouts are grown in warm, moist conditions. Exactly the kind of environment bacteria love. You can wash them, rinse them, pat them dry, but the bacteria can live inside the seed itself, hidden, undetectable, especially in alfalfa or mung bean sprouts. And for younger people, that might just mean a rough day or two. But for someone over 60 with a weaker immune system, the risks are far higher. According to the CDC and Harvard Medical School, foodborne illness hits older adults harder and longer. It can lead to serious dehydration, sepsis, and in rare cases even endocarditis. That's when the infection reaches the lining of your heart. I didn't know any of that. I just thought I was eating something fresh and natural, something that looked alive. But not everything that looks clean is safe, especially when your body no longer fights like it used to. So many of us make that same mistake. We reach for raw sprouts thinking we're doing something good. We trust what looks green and light. We forget that age changes everything. What was harmless at 30 can turn risky at 70. Would you rather eat raw to feel virtuous, or cook your food and protect your heart from a silent infection? Now when I want that crunch, I toss my sprouts into a pan. Just a quick stir with garlic and olive oil, or I steam them gently and add a splash of lemon. I still enjoy the flavor, still feel good after, but I don't play roulette with my heart anymore. And if something so small could make me that sick, I started wondering what other foods might be clashing with the medications that keep my heart going each day. Not every vegetable is harmless, especially when you're taking medication every single day. I learned that the hard way. For months, I was drinking a glass of fresh grapefruit juice every morning. It became a routine I loved. The tang, the color, that feeling of doing something good for my body first thing in the day. I never thought twice about it. Why would grapefruit is packed with vitamin C, it's supposed to be heart-friendly. Until one of my regular blood tests came back with something odd. My liver enzymes were higher than normal. My doctor looked puzzled. He asked about my medication, then about my diet. And when I mentioned the grapefruit juice, his face shifted. Turns out grapefruit contains compounds that interfere with enzymes in the liver. Enzymes that process medications, especially statins, the kind I take to lower cholesterol. According to the Mayo Clinic and the FDA, grapefruit can slow the breakdown of statins, causing the drug to build up in the bloodstream. That can lead to muscle pain, liver issues, even kidney damage. And the effects can last for hours after just one glass. I never knew. I thought I was helping my heart, but I was unknowingly putting extra pressure on it. And grapefruit isn't the only one. Licorice root, found in some herbal teas, can raise blood pressure and block the effectiveness of diuretics. Pomegranate juice can interact with certain blood pressure medications. These are things we often drink or eat without question, because they seem natural, seem safe. But when your body depends on medication to function, a simple fruit can throw everything out of balance. I've seen many friends make the same mistake. We hold on to habits because they feel familiar. They've been with us for decades. But as we get older, those habits sometimes need to evolve. Would you rather hold on to something you've always done, or make one small change so your medication works the way it's supposed to? Now I keep a small food journal, nothing fancy, just a list of what I eat each day and when. I bring it to my doctor appointments. I ask questions. I let my pharmacist know what supplements or juices I'm using. It only takes a few minutes, but it gives me peace of mind. Because staying healthy at this age isn't just about avoiding bad things. It's about making sure the good things aren't working against you in secret. And after learning all that, I started to wonder, if these foods can quietly hurt my heart, is there anything I can eat that truly helps it heal? I thought I had to give up everything that tasted good, but it turned out all I had to do was change the way I cooked. After that long stretch of hospital visits and food warnings, I'll be honest with you, I got discouraged. I felt like everything I loved was being taken off my plate one by one. No pickles, no garlic the way I liked it, no spice, no fresh sprouts. For a while I just stared at my plate like it was punishment, but then something shifted. One evening I decided to try making a simple lentil soup, nothing fancy. Just lentils simmered with carrots, onions, and a bit of olive oil. I added a sprinkle of turmeric and some kale toward the end. The house filled with a warm, earthy scent. I sat down and took the first spoonful and something in me softened. My body didn't feel heavy after. My heart didn't flutter. And the next morning I didn't wake up bloated or anxious like I used to. So I made the same soup again the next night, and again the night after that. 3 weeks later my blood pressure was down. My energy was steadier. I was sleeping better. That one little change did more for me than any big dramatic diet I had tried before. And the best part, it still tasted like home. I started building meals around what helped my body instead of what I missed. Steamed broccoli, roasted sweet potatoes with cinnamon, green beans tossed in garlic, cooked kale with a dash of lemon. These foods are rich in fiber, antioxidants, and potassium. They help regulate blood pressure. They reduce inflammation. They're gentle on the heart. Mayo Clinic even lists many of these as top choices for heart health in seniors. And yet they're simple. They don't require gourmet skills, just a little time and care. Too many of us think healthy eating means giving things up, losing joy. But I've learned it's not about saying goodbye. It's about saying yes to the foods that love you back. Would you rather keep forcing your body to fight every bite, or let each meal become part of your healing? Now I keep a little meal plan on my fridge. I use a steamer more than a frying pan. I cook in batches so I don't have to worry every night. And slowly food has become something I trust again. Something that feels like care, not fear. And once I realized that healing could begin at the dinner table, I knew it was time to look back at the whole journey and ask what really mattered most. I've told you a lot today. About spinach that weakened my medicine. About pickles that pushed my blood pressure higher than I realized. About a simple bowl of spicy soup that made my heart race in ways it shouldn't have. About raw garlic that thinned my blood too far. And about tiny sprouts that looked harmless but left me sicker than I'd felt in years. All those things I once thought were helping me. All those little habits I believed were good. But the truth is our bodies change. And what once kept us strong can quietly work against us if we don't pay attention. I'm 76 now. I still take walks every morning. I still cook for myself most evenings. And I still believe in eating well. But now I do it with a little more wisdom, a little more care, and a lot more listening, not just to doctors, but to what my body is really trying to say. You don't have to change everything all at once. Just start with one thing. One small adjustment that makes your meals a little safer, your days a little lighter, your heart a little more at peace, because your heart is still beating for you, still showing up for you, and it deserves a little kindness in return. If this story reminded you of someone you care about, someone who's eating healthy but still feeling tired or confused, share this video with them. It might be the quiet reminder they need, and maybe the beginning of a different kind of healing.